Hi, and welcome to another video by Jim the Car Guy. Today we have a 2003, it's a Honda Accord, and we're going to be changing the front strut assemblies. We're going to be changing the spring, the strut, and the plate all at the same time because it is a 2003, it has a lot of miles on it, and it's a lot less expensive changing a complete assembly than it is replacing the entire individual components. Alright, so we're going to spray with some penetrating oil first. You can do this by hand. I'm just going to save a little time because we're a little busy here today. So we're going to shoot this bolt out right here. Okay, we'll put this off to the side because we are going to need to use this. Alright, we are going to shoot off that 17 millimeter that we have right down over here. Let's just see if we can get in here so you can see what I'm doing. Let's see. This 17 millimeter here, we're going to hold that. And I'm going to shoot that off, and now I'm going to push in with the wrench as I rotate it on the other side. It makes that slide a little bit further. It makes the bolt slide through the wishbone and out through the control arm. Alright, then what we're going to do is you come in here with a punch like this. You put it on there and just tap it. And we get that bolt to come out like that on the other side. And now our wishbone is disconnected, so we can just rotate it. See this? We're going to rotate and push down at the same time. And then you can see the wishbone. We're just going to leave the wishbone laying right in here. We're not going to do anything with it. And now we're going to go up top, and we're going to air gun off the bolts up on top, and we're going to leave one still attached up top. Okay, now these are the bolts up on top right here. We're going to air gun off these two bolts right here. We're going to loosen up these other three, and we're going to leave one bolt, or one nut I should say, still attached. So let's do that. Now you can use a regular ratchet to do this, but I'm just saving a little bit of time. Alright, so these two we're going to throw away. We're not going to reuse them. Okay, now, remember what I said? We're going to keep that one nut partially screwed on, just like that, and then we'll take that one out. And now the strut is totally disconnected. Okay, so now that the strut, as you can see, is totally disconnected, we're going to go back down the bottom, and we're going to lift up, and we'll take that nut off. So let's go back down the bottom. We have the strut disconnected. We're going to lift up on the strut, and then we're going to unscrew the nut up on top by hand. All right, so let's do that. Lift it up. We're going to take that nut off. That's trash then too. And now we're going to take the strut out. Just move the wishbone out of your way. And you'll see that sometimes it's a little tight to get it out of there. Like now, you see how it doesn't come through there? Don't worry about it, just take the lower suspension, lift it up a little bit, and you can maneuver it like that. Watch your ABS cables. I'm going to get a light out of here. take our new strut and you're going to line up all the bolts up on top right here. We'll push it through, and then we're going to catch 2 or 3 nuts up on top just to hold it in position. Now remember, it came out like this, so we put it back in the same way that it came out, being careful not to damage the ABS wiring. Now remember, you're using your new nuts, okay? So now we have the strut is suspended up on top with those nuts up there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of on the wishbone. Let's get some light in here so you can see a little better. On this part of the strut right here, we're going to put some Never-Seez or some grease or something so that when we slide the wishbone back up there, it'll slide fairly easily. And you can use any kind of grease you have. Doesn't really matter, it's just so it slides properly. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take that wishbone, we're going to push down on the lower control arm a little bit like this, just to get in, so we can get that wishbone back in there. Then if need be, you can get in here with the pry bar like this, and you can push down. Just slide it back up. Now the wishbone, I want to point out, it does have to go up into that little tiny tab. There's a little tab that sticks down and it goes right into that and it locks it in place, so make sure you get that in there. Now if you're trying to turn this and push it up at the same time and it doesn't go up, it's okay to get up underneath here with a hammer and just tap on the lower part of the wishbone right here. It's okay to tap on there. It doesn't really hurt it, all right? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to tap it up a little bit. Now you hear the sound changes? You heard that sound changes, so we know now that the wishbone is all the way up into the top of the strut where it's supposed to be. Now, next thing we're going to do is we're going to reattach that upper bolt through the top of the wishbone and the strut. We are going to use some anti-seize on here, or Never-Seez, whatever you want to call it, because even though this is fluted right here, sometimes they do stick inside there, so I always do this because you never know when it's coming back to me for something else. So we're going to catch this now, and we're going to screw it in by hand. And once you have it caught, now you could shoot it in with an air gun. It's just my obsessive compulsive nature. I don't like to shoot these in with an air gun. So now we have that caught, we're going to make sure it's all the way up as far as it can go. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to line up this part of the wishbone down here. See right over here, we're going to line this up now with the lower control arm. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to just push it back in there like that. We're going to line it up with this in here just to pull it into position like that. Then we're going to take our bolt and we're going to go in the opposite side, and you just maneuver it around until it lines up. And then you just tap it through, put your nut on here. Now the reason that we use this in there is so that we can actually maneuver the control arm up and down as needed. If this doesn't work, you can take the pry bar like this, come around the other side in here, get you in here so you can see. You can take the pry bar and put it in to the frame like that, and you could push down on it that way also, if you had to. All right? Okay, now the next thing we're going to do, we're going to tighten this up, this nut right here first. I am going to use the air gun again. But like I said, if you don't have an air gun, you can tighten it by hand. Okay, now there is torque specs on this. I am going to get the torque specs. I'll torque it and put this back together, you know, under the correct torque. All right? Now the next thing we're going to do is up in the top, you want to make sure right here that this wishbone is touching right up into that piece right there, which it is. I can feel it's touching, but make sure that your little tab is locked into the wishbone correctly. All right, and now we're going to tighten this up. Again, there's torque specs on this. We will look it up and torque this properly, but for now we're just going to tighten this up until we can get to the top. And we'll come back and we'll torque that. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to go up top and we'll tighten up the top bearing plate. Now remember what I said, you have to use the new bolts on that. I'm sorry, the new nuts. There's two different size nuts. These are 12 or 13 millimeter and these are 15 millimeter. So make sure you put them on correctly. Now these, I usually do not tighten these with an air gun. Now everything up top is tight. Let's go down the bottom and we'll go over everything down there. Okay, so we made sure that the bolt on the bottom right here is tight. That's that 14 millimeter that goes through the strut and into the wishbone. We made sure it's tight. We made sure that that little tab is up as far as it goes until it touches into it. We then tightened up the wishbone down on the bottom where it goes through the lower control arm. We tightened that up as well. And that's it. Everything is all set. Okay, so now that we have everything back together, everything is all tightened up, we're going to throw the wheels back on it. We're going to take it out for a test drive. And with this particular strut replacement, you will not have to do a wheel alignment because it does not throw the wheel alignment out of whack on it. All right, so that's it. We're done. Left side's done. Right side's done. Wheels are going on. Out the door. We're going to take it for a test drive and on to the next vehicle. As always, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.